So I thought I'd do a quick video on my spearfishing float setup, the 3 different floats that I run, and when I use them, and a little review of each one. So the first float I'll show you is my Cressi Spyder float board. This is the first float that I bought when I was getting into spearfishing about 5 years ago. It's lasted really well. Apart from it did come with a flag up here at the back. That broke fairly shortly after buying it. It was just a flat plastic flagpole, and I lost that, unfortunately. Other than that, it's a great float. It's held up really well. I use this when I'm shore diving, and it's quite rough because the fact that it's nice and small means it cuts through all the chop and doesn't pull on my dive line as much as the other heavier float does. It's got 3 pockets, one up here at the top, which I fit a bottle of water in, 2 down here, which I'll keep chocolate bar, compass, fish stringer in, and it has loads of D-rings and clips all around it to clip whatever you need to. On the underside, it's got 3 separate spear gun holders and a counterweight to keep it floating the right way up. It's got a shoulder strap as well to sling over yourself when heading down the beach. One drawback of this float, if you're collecting lobsters, crabs and scallops, there's no way to put them on top. You have to have a separate bag for them, and that bag is carried through the water, creating more drag, unfortunately. But yeah, other than that, it's a great little float. It served me well. So, moving on. This is my Beuchat Guardian. I use this for 90% of my shore dives. It's absolutely fantastic. Can't rate it enough. It's a sort of dinghy type float board where you can actually jump out and lie half your body on it and fin. It means you can cover much further distance when fishing from shore. Also means you can jump out if you're tired and have a rest, and then carry on your diving. It's got spear gun holders down either side and a huge pocket in the front here, which is fantastic for keeping. In here I keep a compass, a whistle, a torch, a descaler, water, and any food that I've taken out with me. So loads of room, which is fantastic. Underneath, you've got your catch pool, which is where I put all the fish and crabs, lobsters, scallops. I still stick them on a stringer in here, just in case they do slip out somehow. Nothing worse than getting back to beach and finding out that you've lost your catch. The good thing about this is the fact that you can keep crabs or your shellfish out on top of the float, basically, which means it reduces the drag in the water, which makes things a lot easier when you're swimming and pulling this behind you. As I mentioned before, it is quite a big float. It's quite a heavy float, so when it's quite rough and choppy, I'll actually use a smaller float because when this pulls on your dive line going over the waves, it is quite uncomfortable and it's quite a bit of drag actually. I use a normal paracord as my dive line. I've put a clear plastic tubing for the first meter, which just basically stops it tangling around my legs. It makes it nice and stiff so it doesn't loop around my legs when I'm sitting on the bottom. I've got a diver's SMB reel here, which keeps it nice and tidy. All I need to do is press the button, let out the length of rope that I need for the dive, and reel it back in at the end of the dive. I've got about 30 meters of line on there. I never need 30 meters. It's got two shoulder straps, So it's quite comfy when you're walking down the beach or walking to your chosen dive spot. It also has a really good dive flag, which is made out of fiberglass. The one on my other dive float was made out of plastic and it broke straight away. This is made out of fiberglass, so it's a solid dive flag. And that slots in the top, and it's quite visible to all boat traffic, which is really quite good from a safety point of view. When I'm storing the Beuchat Guardian, I actually keep all my stuff in here. So my gloves, my dive knife, my watch, everything I need for the dive is in that pocket. My wetsuit and my booties will be in the catch pool. So when I decide to go for a dive, all I need to take is my float, which has everything in it, my fins, and my weight belt and my gun, and that's it. So that also doubles up as a dive bag for me. So fantastic float. And lastly, this is my Omer Torpedo. I use this when I'm diving from a boat. It basically is a lot smaller, doesn't have any pockets, but I don't carry any gear with me when I'm diving from a boat because all my gear is actually on the boat. So when we head out for a boat dive, we head to the mark, drop anchor, dive around the boat and the areas around there, head back to the boat, then move, spot, and do it and repeat. So I don't need to carry any gear with me. I've just got a fish stringer, so I don't have to keep going back to the boat every time we catch a fish. Cuts through the water quite well. Small torpedo design, cuts through the chop, which is great. Yeah, fantastic little dive float. Also deflates and rolls up into a pocket, basically. So on a boat dive, I have taken the Beuchat Guardian before, and it's a nightmare because it's such a big floater, it takes up so much space. This one takes up absolutely no space when it's deflated, and it doesn't take any time at all to inflate it. So great float for a boat dive. So those are my floats. I hope it helped you decide or choose what floats you're using and how you run your setup.